What's going on, everybody? We are very happy to be bringing you this video. We have our S&W MVP Starlight pick in conjunction with Joe over at the Maumee Valley Whiskey Society. Joe and Jess are awesome partners of ours, awesome friends of ours. The Whiskey Society that they run is one of the best out there, and always super happy to pick barrels with them. But we're really excited about this because this has been a long time coming.
Yes.
One of the things when you're picking barrels is you get told guesses from distilleries, and we thought this was going to be 12 weeks from the time we picked it to the time we received it, but it was much longer than that. And then our barrel got shipped somewhere else and had to be retrieved. We do have the correct barrel. We are good to go.
Yes.
It has been double the amount of time. And you know, when you're picking barrels, sometimes things go that way.
That's the way it is. Yep.
But we have it now. It's a 4-year-old 115 proof, just super flavorful pour, and we're going to talk about tasting notes here in a minute.
Yep.
And we're all going to get into it. We've got it poured, and we're going to go ahead and get into the nose. And while Joe and Aaron, I almost said Joe and Jess, as Joe and Aaron are getting into their nose and getting familiar with it, I just want to tell you guys the story behind this pick. So we know Starlight does finishing really well. So we went into this knowing we wanted to pick a finished product, and I have to give credit to Shared Pour for making this pick possible, and that's who it's going to be available through, and that will be coming out later this week. So, you know, keep your eyes out for the details. We'll be making sure those come out. But we did a tour at Starlight. We started tasting barrels of some of the more traditional finishes. And because we were partnering with Shared Pour, they do a lot of business with Starlight, and so we were able to access barrels that were far above the tier of access that we would get if we were picking for our very first time at Starlight. So we tasted through some of the standard finishes, and then we started getting the crazy stuff pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway through tasting through the barrels, we ran across this one, which is a white grape brandy finished bourbon. Their Carl T blend that they use, which is a blend of a 3 and a 4 grain bourbon mash bill. Then it was finished in a white grape brandy barrel, and that white grape brandy barrel held that white grape brandy for over a decade. So this thing was, so this thing was cool. Saturated with that cognac-y type of flavor profile, and this thing has benefited greatly from spending time in that barrel. What are you getting on the nose on here?
Okay, well, I don't know about the nose. Joe, you want to go about the nose? I have a flavor note.
Well, I was going to say that white grape brandy barrel just wasn't any white grape brandy barrel. That was from the Huber Farms winery as well. So that was their grape brandy that it was in. So on the nose, I was getting some familiar thoughts from when we were on the pick. Like, right, it's been so long. So Bill Kavanaugh, if you're watching and you recognize that name or see that name in the chat, he was like, didn't we pick this like 20 years ago? This wasn't a recent pick, but it was a ton of sweet oak on the nose. Just, I'm getting a lot of sweet oak. Now, you've had your bottle open like a day or so longer than mine, maybe 2. But it's just a lot of sweet oak. Not getting much more than that. It's on the palate where this thing really shines.
Yeah, I have an image.
Okay, go ahead.
That I want to display.
Display your image.
Well, would you like to talk about the nose?
Well, what I was going to say was we tasted this barrel about halfway through. Pardon me. And I absolutely fell in love with this thing.
You did?
At first taste.
I remember.
And everybody was like, let's try some more barrels. And Starlight's, you guys want to try some more barrels? And they just kept letting us try different things. And like, I was sneaking back over to this barrel, and I'm like, hey, Andrew, give me a little bit more of that. And like, I just kept going back and back and back to this barrel and tasting it against the other ones. And it just, this thing is so enjoyable.
Yeah, there was a lot of good barrels that we were able to try. And I mean, we were really fortunate, one, to be there with partnership with Shared Pour, but they're just great there. And we got to try a ton of stuff. In fact, you were talking about when we first started off, I mean, we were 3-4 barrels into it, and Aaron's asking, wait a minute, has the pick actually started yet? Like,
yeah, I had no idea because they were just like, here, try this. And I thought, because we had just finished a tour. So the way the tour kind of just bled into the pick, there was no like, okay, you're on the pick now. So I was like, oh, wait, we're officially on our pick. I've just tasted 3 things. I need to taste them again because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, and we're trying this barrel, right? Like when we get to this against all that other, their standard stuff. but all those other crazy finishes, and there were some wild, off the wall blueberry something or another finishes and all kinds of stuff that were really good, but none of them stood up to the body of this and the mouthfeel and the creaminess and the flavor that it punched with.
Yeah. So speaking of flavor, when I tasted this, I got a vision in my head that made me so happy, and I'm going to show it to you.
Let's cover up our faces.
Don't
get too close.
Can you see what that is?
Yep. Nerds.
That the gummy clusters. So it's got like a little chewy center, and that flavor is what this glass is, and it makes my heart so happy.
Okay.
Yeah. And because Josh is wrong, the best candy is Nerds or any kind of hard sugary candy. So
hard sugary candy. I do love chocolate candies. However, what I crave is the hard sugary candies like Nerds or anything sour. That's my jam.
And this, to me, a special pour is all about the mouthfeel, right? Like, if it's thin, I'm sorry, you just leave it alone. We're not even doing this.
Joe is dead right. The mouthfeel, the overall experience is something special. Like, every time I'm picking barrels, I'm looking for that saturation of flavor, something that sets it apart from stuff that you can just find on the shelf at any given point in time. And I will say that as I've spent more time with this over the last couple of days, I've played around with it. I've poured it and let it sit out for 30 minutes or an hour or two to kind of simulate the bottle opening up a little bit. And I want to thank Shared Pour for sending us bottles early, getting us bottles so that we can do tasting note videos like this. But I will say that to me, Joe said sweet oak on the nose, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
But as I have spent some more time dissecting it, in the moment of recording a video, that's what you get, right? Like, you get the sweet oak note. But then as I've had more time to pick it apart over the last few days, what I get out of this on the nose is I get like, it's almost like a buttercream frosting and a coffee shop. Like, it smells like I'm sitting in a coffee shop near some buttercream frosting muffins or something.
So
like,
I'm not getting the buttercream because I just cracked this, but when I was getting that sweet note, I was getting that dusty note. Like, when you hear people describe, okay, it's like you're drinking the whiskey in a library or something like that. Like, I'm getting...
Yeah, it's just got this general, like, kind of like sweet, roasty, kind of beautiful, like sugary darkness is the best way to describe it.
That's what I should call you.
Okay.
Actually, that's my heart. My heart is sugary darkness.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. All right, on the palate, what are you getting? You're getting the Nerds?
The Nerds, the clustered Nerds with the chewy center.
Yeah. Joe, what are you getting on the palate of this?
So I always look for the sweet oak, and I'm getting that carrying over on the palate, which I absolutely love. It's that and barbecue, my two favorite flavor profiles to get on whiskey. And then that candy kind of like Nerd sweetness jumps in. I get that brandy notes in there, not too overpowering, but then that body builds and it kind of goes like right along the side of your tongue, hangs out down in the jowls a little bit that you really want. Get the hug setting in. The experience, so the flavor is concentrated and impactful, and then the experience is what stands out the most on this whiskey.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, for me, as I spent some time with this on the palate, what I noticed is there was like a sweetness that I couldn't quite put my finger on because it's not something that you get in a lot of whiskey, because like you're used to your traditional notes, right? Like your caramel, your vanilla, your oak, all that stuff. And this has a lot of that in it. And it certainly tastes like a finished product, but it doesn't taste over finished.
Yeah.
And I'm very sensitive to that, especially in bourbons.
It doesn't taste artificial. Like too often you can get a flavor, not a flavor, but a finished bourbon or finished whiskey, and it has like a little artificial tint, aspartame, something to it.
Yeah.
And you don't get that. I get like concentrated, sweet, like wine fruitiness, not fake fruitiness.
Yeah, I agree.
And my I took some notes over the past few nights trying this, and your sister makes these macarons, like those little. Joe knows what a macaron is. Those things have a specific type of sweetness to them. They're very sweet, but then they're also somehow tempered sweet at the same time. And I don't know how they pull that off, but as soon as I take a sip of this, it hits me with like that macaron frosting and cookie sweetness right up front. And then that transitions into the darker flavors, kind of mid to back palate. And it's like, it transitions into, again, going off that coffee shop note on the nose, it transitions into like a caramel macchiato. Like it's got the kiss of caramel. It's got a little bit of roasted coffee bean, this coffee shop vibe to it.
Man.
And then that kind of just transitions beautifully. And then it falls into sweet oak on the background. And there's like this kiss of barrel spice and kiss of barrel char that just make it kind of complex and interesting for a finished whiskey. Like it's not just the one note that it is. It's got some layers to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even as I sit here and I'm listening to you, I'm tasting through it and it's opening up a little bit. That like Nerds candy concentrated sweetness is still there and it's fading away a little bit. I'm getting a little more of that like vanilla coffee mocha notes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know how well even my camera will pick it up, but like it is super oily.
It really is, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is actually.
It's very oily in the glass, yeah. And I will say on the palate, just overall experience, we try to always speak to that for you guys. So if we're talking, we're saying a lot of things are very sweet, but Erin likes it, and she likes things that aren't very sweet. So that's what I'm talking about, that macaron, like.
It's to Joe's point, it doesn't taste like an artificial sweetness. That is what is off-putting to me. I can't drink a lot of something if it tastes artificial sweet.
Yeah.
I like real sweet. Like, be real. Just be authentic.
Yeah.
It has a depth to it and a complexity to it that kind of balances out that sweetness with those darker flavors.
Yeah.
It pulls it off really well. Like to my mind, like if I'm tasting this in a blind, I'm going to be like, oh, we got something a little special here.
Yeah, and it's so different. Like they didn't even do that many of these white grape brandy finished bourbons at Starlight. There were only a few barrels that were made available, and we only got one. We only got the chance to taste one because of our relationship with Shared Pour. But then for it to be this good is crazy. So I want to say, as we kind of close this out on tasting and experience and everything, overall experience, there's that saturated sweetness that we've been talking about, but there's a level of balance that just honestly, like, I'm not trying to hype it up too much. I think that balance is really hard to come by in finished bourbons, especially. And the fact that it's in here is really cool.
Yeah.
And what I think it does is I think it makes it a super enjoyable pour. Like, I like the 125 or 30 proof powerhouses that are going to just bowl you over, but this is a solid 10 proof points less than that, younger than what I normally gravitate towards drinking, but there's just so much balance in the glass that it's
and flavor
that it keeps me wanting to come back for another pour. And I mean, I've already this is like 3 nights, and part of this is research for you guys, but like I'm putting a dent in this thing already, and it's the type of bottle that will just disappear on you because it's just so flat out enjoyable.
Yeah.
I think there's balance there for the people who don't love high proof. There's enough balance that you're going to enjoy it for what it is. And then for people who do love high proof like me, you're going to really enjoy it as well because it's
a concentration of flavor.
Yeah.
And let's be fair, like 115 proof is not low proof.
No.
The proof point of what this is not low proof.
Right.
It's up there as well.
Well, yeah, I was going to say for 115, it's got a really good proof point. And, we're transitioning now out of summer into fall. That's typically where we're like, okay, let's get our darker, deeper, higher proof, more robust bourbons out. We don't have to deal with the 98 degree days anymore. But this is really one that I think drinks well, whether it's summer, fall, winter. It would really, to me, hit all the seasons. And that's kind of rare for a bourbon to be able to hit all the seasons, right? It's got enough, it drinks nice enough with enough sweet fruitness that it would be great for the summer, but also it has that concentrated flavor, that mouthfeel, that depth to it that would be great, on a fall day or fall evening around the fire.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
100%.
100% agree with that.
I will say that as we cap this, it's kind of like we're talking about it like it's a Goldilocks pour. I think it's going to be a sneaky pour for a lot of people. If you've ever had Starlight stuff, I mean, this is up there with the best Starlight I've ever had for sure. And I'm not trying to hype it up or anything. I'm just being honest with you guys. I wouldn't say that if it weren't true. I'm super happy that we were able to pick this barrel. I know the wait has been long. I'm so glad it's worth it. I think this is going to be a sneaky, enjoyable pick for people. Like, we've been very fortunate to pick some very heavy hitter bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this is going to, kick down your door like Swag Junior or the People's Bourbon, or it's going to just be like, crazy, like sugary, syrupy, like maple syrupy, like the butterscotchy Found North pick was. This is I think the most balanced pick we've ever picked and released so far.
Interesting.
And I think because of that, it's going to be a fan favorite amongst a lot of people. And I think there's going to be some people who only buy one that they're going to wish that they bought more than one, because we have 140 bottles of this is the yield, and we're splitting it, and it'll be released in tiered order later this week. Again, keep your eyes open for all of that. It's going to be through Shared Pour. We'll be posting on our respective Patreon communities and releasing it, in order. So yeah, it's coming up. I think it's going to be $70. I'm almost sure that's correct. And yeah, it'll go up through Shared Pour. It'll go down through the tiers, and we hope everybody has a chance to get one or two. And this is one that I'm going to be getting probably. I'll just get 3 of them just to not be a bottle hog, but I really wish I want a lot more of them.
Because the brandy barrel itself was a larger barrel, and so they split the pick, so we got half of it, which is only 140 bottles, which is a very low yield for our picks typically. So don't sleep on it. It is never failed. It has happened to every single pick we've released, where we get a ton of comments. I only bought one. I need another one. Where can I get it? And sorry, it's gone.
Yeah, I'll say, if you're on the fence about buying one or two, think about buying 2. If it's not going to put you in a tight spot, think about buying 2. And then I guarantee if you taste it and you're like, you know what, I'm really fine with one, I guarantee you there's going to be a ton of people out here who absolutely love this. And once it's gone, you can pop over on Discord. You can help somebody out, get another bottle in their hands. They'll be happy to repay you for it. And I'm mainly talking about myself. So just like, keep them in stock over there. And then when I run out, I'll just hit you guys up for more bottles.
Hold him to his budget, Aaron. Hold him to his budget.
Yeah.
I try. It's a lost cause.
Yeah, it is. All right, guys. This is a ton of fun. Joe, thank you for hopping on here. And this is going to be a fantastic pick. We can't wait to get it into you guys' hands. It's coming to you very, very soon. Cheers, all.
All right, cheers.